Hi, so I'm just want to make a little video because I've seen some a little news article and some news that broke today that WWE superstar Tommaso Ciampa will be leaving the company after his contract is not renewed. Now, I'm not one of those guys who wants to make a video on every single, bit of wrestling news. Oh God, this happened, whatever. I do my AEW stuff, and that's kind of what I care about. But I think Tommaso Ciampa was an interesting discussion in terms of, obviously it relates to AEW, but just, who Tommaso Ciampa is. Tommaso Ciampa is obviously now just mainly known for the DIY stuff, but NXT Black and Gold, again, everyone knows how good NXT Black and Gold is, how legendary that era is. Tommaso Ciampa is truly a forefront, and in my opinion, one of the best members of that entire just run of NXT. The main thing, obviously, was him versus Gargano, and I stand by he is the better out of the two, singles-wise. The main thing people say about Ciampa, and it is true, is Ciampa was that over as a heel. Like, he was that hated as a heel. He'd just come out to the boos. That's how insane he was. And it's true, but, like, as a wrestler, I think Tommaso Ciampa doesn't get the credit he deserves. I think Tommaso Ciampa's a great wrestler. I always say this, and I won't go too in-depth with it, because it is something I've said previously, is I don't think in WWE, just how the styles and how they run things lets you breathe as a wrestler. I don't think you're allowed to truly showcase what you are and what you're capable of. I think Tommaso Ciampa is a great example of that. I think a lot of wrestlers are, but I think Tommaso Ciampa is a very good example. I think Tommaso Ciampa is a very, very good wrestler. I think the aggression he can show, especially as a heel, but his stature, he's got very unique movement, in my opinion, for a guy of that stature. Like, he was in the Cruiserweight Classic, and he's weirdly big for a Cruiserweight. It's weird how Tommaso Ciampa just kind of boggles my mind. But he's not like a world beater. He'd never be a guy who go, he should be WWE champ, or, whatever company champ, high-level organization, from his current work. And, yeah, there's a failure with, obviously, the booking and stuff. You got to acknowledge that. But with Tommaso Ciampa, the obvious main discussion is, by a lot of people, is, does Tommaso Ciampa go AEW? Now, every time WWE does its releases, look at the recent one with Dakota Kai and the like, a lot of people were saying Dakota Kai is going to go to AEW, stuff like this. I think, personally, a lot of times that is based on old, like, the past, moves by AEW. The 2025 signings, it's another video in itself, but there's no one really of, merit that was ex-WWE directly. It very rarely happens. The recent one I can think happens is Andrade, and that's a whole thing, as we already know. Now, normally I'd be like, I don't want AEW to sign every ex-WWE guy. Obviously, I think that's a wrong move for a company like AEW. It doesn't really help with their image. And especially with the run they're on, I don't think they should change what they're doing. However, I feel like Tommaso Ciampa is one of the exceptions where I don't want to say I want him in AEW. I have no preference. I think Tommaso Ciampa, if he joined AEW, would be a great addition. But I'm not going to sit here and go, I want Tommaso Ciampa. I don't really care. Because the company is ridiculously stacked. We all know how stacked AEW's roster is. And Tommaso Ciampa, would he have that impact besides, like, again, living off the NXT Black and Gold days? And it's unsure to tell. It's quite a hard call. He could go on the indies. TNA's always there. But to get the point why not sign your contract, New Japan maybe. New Japan are always looking for people. It's all, there's a lot of avenues to go down with Tommaso Ciampa. And I think the big one with this one, just why it's stuck in my mind, is AEW's obviously got a lot of it. Look, Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, people like this, is it clearly and Ricochet's a huge example too. Same with Andrade, but Ricochet's a big example. A lot of people, and Samoa Joe, people like this, a lot of NXT Black and Gold, familiarity, a lot of crossover, because that's, that was the original rival, but then it kind of, just improved, and a lot of NXT Black and Gold people who didn't really work out in WWE left, and not all of them are still there, Aleister Black being a great example. But, I feel like Ricochet's the shining spark of the lot. That's a guy who works in AEW, doesn't work in WWE for me. And I don't think Tommaso Ciampa couldn't work in WWE. I just don't think he was never going to be a main eventer. And I just feel like it's a tough call. Like, again, I wouldn't be against Tommaso Ciampa being in AEW. But I'm not going to sit here and say, I want Tommaso Ciampa in AEW. This guy could be next world champ, because I don't believe that. I truly don't. I like the guy. I think the guy's got great character work, and I think if you got him in a company like AEW, he's never going to disappoint me with his wrestling. You give me Roderick Strong, you give me Roderick Strong versus Tommaso Ciampa. You give me Josh Alexander versus Tommaso Ciampa. That's an incredible match. These are the matches I'm thinking of, and it's like Jon Moxley versus Tommaso Ciampa. People like this, and I feel like Tommaso Ciampa could hang. It's just, it feels like, again, I respect the choice of leaving, obviously, but I feel like with him, it's, what do we do? Do we go to somewhere that we know we're going to get, guaranteed matches? Are we going to go to a place where, like AEW, where he wants to test himself? I think New Japan would be a great call for Tommaso Ciampa. Depends how they would want him, but New Japan are in a lack of guys. And I feel like Tommaso, it's hard to say, is a guy that could work in New Japan. He's a great heel, and obviously New Japan would like guys and heels. I feel like that'd be a great call. You could go to, look how big Mexican wrestling is. Previous 2025's been a big year for Lucha Libre. Tommaso Ciampa could go there. TNA feels like a solid step, because, if you went to TNA, he'd be a main guy, easy. But, like, who cares about TNA? You know what I mean? They got the TV deal, and that is great, truly, but who cares about TNA, truly? So maybe that's his motive, but then it just feels weird. I want to talk about this one, really, from the motive of, obviously, again, the AEW and NXT Black and Gold crossover. There's a lot of interest, there's a lot of intrigue from both parties. There's such an overlap. And I just kind of wanted to gauge my feelings just out loud of what would I prefer. I think if Tommaso Ciampa joined AEW, he wouldn't be nothing more than TNT belt, at least unless he, drastically blew everyone away. I don't think Tommaso Ciampa should be above the level of Juice Robinson. I truly don't. I think if you put him in a company that, he has a hole in, though, a spot that fits for him, he'd be great. He's a great guy. Again, TNA, he's an instant top guy. Not just CNML, but New Japan, it probably works. You could throw him as a guy, and that could be fun. Stuff like this. And I just think this one's an interesting one, because he's one of the last few pivotal NXT Black and Gold members to have left WWE. I feel like the only ones that are left now are obviously Balor, Owen, Zayn. Shinsuke's finished, I don't count Shinsuke. And Gargano, if we're just talking about the men. And I feel like that's really insane to me. I think that's quite crazy. And it's kind of sad in a way. But I feel like this one's a big one. Because it feels weird to see Ciampa leave Gargano in different companies. That's going to be really weird to see. So I respect this decision a lot. I kind of want to, obviously my page and everything I talk about, it's very AEW-centric, no denying that, and I'm quite proud of that. I kind of wanted to ask the question of, what do other people think about Tommaso Ciampa? Would they want him in AEW? What's the gauge? Because it's a lot of people, I feel like when you see people online go, AEW fans, we don't want him, well, no, because let's actually talk about it, because I feel like he's one of the only few that, it's really split, but for good reason. Again, it's obviously I'm going to back my opinion of, I don't want him, but I'll happily take him. It's not like a Karrion Kross situation where I don't want Karrion Kross, it wouldn't fit. Tommaso Ciampa would fit, but he's not going to be, an exciting signing. Again, Josh Alexander is the better wrestler out of the two. And Josh Alexander has fit his role perfectly. I don't think Tommaso Ciampa has left WWE to become a mid-carder at AEW, an effective one. I don't think he has. I think Tommaso Ciampa's left to be a top guy, and I think that's completely fair. I think that's completely justified, and I respect that decision. I feel like not CMLL. I think that, God no, not CMLL. I love CMLL. Don't change a goddamn thing. I need to watch you first. I feel like TNA. It just feels like it makes sense. And I don't watch TNA. I don't have an interest. It doesn't. I don't want to watch Moose in 2026. You know what I mean? The Hardys. Okay, yeah. Delete stuff like this. You know what I mean? I just don't care. I don't care. But Tommaso Ciampa going there. It's a good move for their TV deal. And honestly, there's a lot of ways to go there, especially after they've lost Joe Hendry, which I'm not a fan of Joe Hendry, but brought eyeballs. I know Cardona was never fully signed, but he's obviously went to WWE again now. So, and, I don't know what's going on with Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. TNA, that's what I mean. I don't have an interest. But Ciampa fits there to me. Again, the main question about this video, and this way I'm going to end it because I just wanted to ramble dead quickly, is is people who've got an interest in AEW, people who are AEW fans, what's your opinion on Tommaso Ciampa? Would you have him in AEW, and where would you place him? Because, again, I don't see him above the Juice Robinson, Roderick Strong, Josh Alexander level, and that's not a bad thing. He'd be a great guy in Ring of Honor, but, it'd just be seen as degrading. It's a weird call. It's a very weird call for Tommaso Ciampa, but the one thing I really want to make apparent is I really respect the decision. I really do. I think Tommaso Ciampa is a great wrestler. I think his past has proven that he's got, great character work in there. So for him to have that motivation, especially after so long and in WWE, to have that motivation to go for that, he's probably being inspired by the likes of Ricochet. I think that's got to be said. I think Ricochet's done a lot for wrestlers like that. So I'm really looking forward to where Tommaso Ciampa goes. I really am. And I think he'll do great wherever he goes, even if he does end up in AEW. I don't think AEW's out the question, but I don't know. I just don't feel like it'd be as big as a deal as people would hype it up to be. It's cool, but it's not like he's not becoming a world champ. No way. You know what I mean? But I respect it regardless, and I wish him nothing but the best. What do you guys think? Because I'm really interested to hear this one, because it does intrigue me, and I want to know other people's opinions.